Daredevil Season 2 is another season of people daring the devil to do stupid shit. Like shrink someone's head. Daredevil Season 2 again stars Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock / Daredevil, Elden Henson as Foggy Nelson, and Deborah Ann Woll as Karen Page. This time they're joined by Jon Bernthal as the Punisher. In case you somehow didn't know, and or for some reason watching a Season 2 review without actually watching a Season 1 review or Season 1, the show is about a blind lawyer in Hell's Kitchen in New York City. Oh yeah, and he dresses up like a devil and beats the shit out of criminals. Just like the first season, the fight scenes are great in the show. There's lots of fighting in every episode, and it doesn't feel like the cheap, watered-down stuff that you might get from certain TV shows. This one, it feels kind of like it's a movie. There's one fight scene in particular at the end of episode 3 where Daredevil has a gun taped to one hand and a chain taped to the other, and he's just beating the shit out of a full building full of criminals. And it's awesome because a lot of it's long takes, and he kind of has to be more inventive with his fighting style because he has, again, a gun taped to one hand that has no bullets, and a chain taped to the other hand, which also has no bullets. The acting is very well done, especially for a TV series, and every character seems to have their own kind of arc in it and something to do, their own stories, which is a positive and a negative, which I'll get into a little bit later. Jon Bernthal, as I said, joins the cast as the Punisher, and he's probably the standout of the season. It's a different Punisher than we've seen in either of the last 2 live-action versions or the one where he sits naked in a sewer, the Dolph Lundgren one, where he doesn't have a skull, but he's still a Punisher. It's a different character than the previous incarnations, where he seems a little more out there. He's doesn't quite seem like he has complete control of himself. And there's a scene where he has an awesome fight scene in a prison, and that reminds me almost of Watchmen when Rorschach says, "I'm not locked in here with them, they're locked in here with me." There's a scene that reminded me a lot of that. Season 2 has a bit more of the lawyer stuff in it than Season 1 did, which I liked actually a bit, because the show, it's about 2 lawyers, so it makes sense to have a few courtroom scenes, and I like that they did that in Season 2. Elodie Yung also comes in as Elektra Natchios, and her character is different from what I know Elektra to be. I don't know her that well from the comics. I've only read a couple, and I think from what I read, if I remember correctly, the only ones I read with her in it were Wolverine comic books. But anyway, it seems like a bit of a departure for the character. She does a good job, and you understand why he's kind of entranced by her and wants to kind of be with her. It makes sense for the characters, and I like how they handled it. I didn't necessarily like the changes, but it fit in. It fit into the world, and it fit in to what they were trying to do with the series. The things I didn't like about it is, as I said earlier, everybody had something to do, and I think that they did that too much. Season 1 was kind of about the characters getting to where they need to be. They just opened the lawyer firm, Karen Page just joins them, and he only ever has the costume, the Daredevil costume, at the end of the last episode. So it's kind of like the setup to Daredevil, and in Season 2, they don't let that happen very long. It doesn't stay as kind of status quo long enough to when they start changing things for it to have as much of an impact as it should have. I think Season 2 should have been all everything kind of was it honky-dory? That's a terrible phrase. Everything, is kind of going well to a degree for them. There's still going to be drama because you need to, have acting for people to do. There has to be some interesting storylines going on, but I think that they changed some things just for the sake of changing them, and I think that hurt them to do this early on. The suit, I think, is much improved from Season 1. It starts out with the same, or at least very similar to the end of Season 1, and then he gets an upgrade a little bit in, and I think it looks awesome. It might just be some of the lighting, but he looks much better than he did at the last episode of Season 1. Scott Glenn returns as Stick, the blind mentor that taught Matt Murdock how to fight from Season 1. And he's as kind of cranky and douchebaggy, but in a fun way, as ever. I like him a bit. So again, Season 2 brings back a lot of the good stuff from Season 1, namely the cast and the great fighting. There are some things that I wish they did more of, like kind of normal street-level fighting, not always after ninjas. And some of the character choices I didn't particularly like. But overall, it's still solid and one of the best superhero, if not the best superhero show on TV. Daredevil Season 2 is rated B+. So given that Daredevil is a superhero TV show, name a superhero that you would like to see have a TV show. One I think you might as well do at this point is the Fantastic Four. Because apparently fucking movies aren't going to work. They tried 3 times. They all suck balls. So anyway, name a superhero show that you'd like to see. Make your mark below in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Daredevil is a TV series on Netflix which follows a young boy who's blinded by the same chemicals that made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles teenage and mutant. Well, I guess it just made them mutant. And kind of ninjas. They were trained to... It just made them mutant, I guess? They grew into teenagers. I think I'm overthinking it. So the Ninja Turtles reference is because Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the creators of the Ninja Turtles, their first comic was meant to be a satire of Daredevil. It was, the idea is that the same shit that, like the accident where Matt Murdock was blinded, a canister fell down in the sewers and mutated the turtles. So, the more you know.